Hi, it's Old Noisy and welcome to the internet. At the beginning of 2019, I convinced the dear woman to play a hex and counter wargame with me that was designed in 1973. She's a Eurogamer, so this was like completely new to her, and we were interested in what she thought of the dear old games I fell in love with when I was post-teen, I guess, late teenage years. I have a reasonable collection of this sort of thing. They don't get played very much. Maybe I'll talk about them in another video. But anyway, we made a video of that experience and her thoughts, and I thought it would be worthwhile to do a remix because there's a few things I'd like to change in it and bring it from the Old Noisy channel to the Party Meeple channel, because that's where the game videos should hang out. If you haven't visited the Old Noisy channel, my original YouTube channel from years ago, go and have a look. You might be interested. There's a boat building video, there's lots of railway stuff, and there's a lot of other random musings and some older board gaming stuff that existed before the Party Meeple channel was around. So maybe go and check that out. Anyway, this video on that channel is my most viewed video ever. So I thought maybe giving it a bit of a refresh and bringing it here might be a good idea. I hope you enjoy it. This is Kim, who I met at a board gaming club. Come this way, you're off shot, I think. There we are. Who I met at a board gaming club. So actually plays board games with us and my friends quite a bit. Has never played something like this. So grab that bit of paper there. The MO was, I would play by the seat of my pants. I don't play this sort of thing very often, but I have a rough idea how it works. Kim would get a, what's this? A strategy guide. And it was out of Campaign magazine number something or other. I will put a comment here that thanks the person from Game Geek that actually showed us that. So Kim said she'd give it a go with me, like 10 hours worth of giving it a go, plus rule reading and what have you, as a new experience. Did you enjoy your new experience, mainly?
I did, yes.
Okay, why don't we see how that went? So there's a separate chart in the box, which is called the tone record chart, and before you turn every move, you look at this to see if you'll get replacements, if you'll get air support, and in fact, if you'll have some withdrawals, like some of the allied units get taken away early in the game, so you can't use them. I believe they went off to Greece to try and rescue stuff that didn't work very well.
Sadness. Because I wasn't paying attention to that.
Yeah, surprising for the commander, as it probably would have been in 1941. They probably didn't expect to get their shit taken off them in the middle of a fight. But anyway, if you look down the left-hand side of the chart, you can see there's 2 turns per month. So on the first turn of a month, you look at the chart, you see what you get. Air power, replacements, and actual units. If you look at the top up here, you can actually see we've laid out all the units on like a sheet of paper in the correct position so we can find them. Because in this game, you spend a lot of time taking a unit that's taken damage off the board and replacing it with the same unit but a separate counter that's a little bit less powerful. And some of the big units have like 4 counters that represent them, and you use the little one when it's nearly dead, and you use the big one when it's like kicking seals or something.
Yes, that strategy article suggested that the Allies start by attacking the Italians at Sidi Barrani.
Right.
So, having no idea what I'm doing, thought, let's start there.
Go.
Terrible about this. Okay. So on your chit, for your units, the 2 larger numbers at the bottom represent the combat factor and the movement factor. On the left is the combat factor, and the movement factor is on the right. So when your unit moves, it can move 1 hex per movement factor. You get a bonus if you're moving along the road. It gets to move 5 hexes per movement factor. And if a unit moves onto a ridge...
Which looks like pubic hair.
So, when a unit moves onto a ridge, it may move along the ridge, but not off or across it in that same turn. So you have to wait till the next turn for that. And that's pretty much all there is to moving.
I have to say, The ridge rule doesn't sound like very much, but later in the game when I wanted to do some manoeuvring, it was a pain in the ass. Okay. So while we're here, I think we can talk about how combat works. The pieces have moved up to the pieces they're going to attack, the counters. And the rule is, if you're next to another counter, you have to fight it. And if it's your turn, then you're regarded as the attacker and the other person is regarded as the defender. And this is important because just above this, you can see on the board there's a table with lots of ARs and BRs and Cs on it. That's a combat results chart. Across the top of that, there are odds. And you want the odds in your favour, particularly if you're the attacker, because if the odds are not in your favour, like defending is an easier thing to do than attacking. So you want to try and attack on good odds. And what we have here is a New Zealand and Australian division attacking a BS division. So their odds are 10 to 2, which works out at 5 to 1, he said, doing maths badly. And an Indian 4th division attacking a Libya division, which works out at 4 to 1. So you can see all the units that are next to each other are involved in a combat. You have to make sure, even if there's some piddly little unit on the side, you need to attack it if you're next to it. You can't like surround one unit with massive odds and then just ignore one that's next door to it. So once you have your combat odds, the next thing you do is roll a dice. And there's just a 6-sided dice with result of 1 to 6, which is pretty fucking random. But here's the thing. After watching Tick's video, we realised that a lot of really random stuff happens that's outside the control of the commanders in the desert, or probably in any theatre of war, actually. And so the dice isn't just talking about how the battle went. It's talking about whether units were able to get there, whether they were in the right mood to fight, whether they were properly fed and armed. Like, all of this sort of stuff isn't necessarily well understood or known by the guy in a tent some way back when who's basically telling people they need to conduct an assault on something. So initially I was like, 1 to 6-sided dice, what if I roll crap and things go wrong? But this is actually not a bad description of the sort of fog of war stuff. The things all your best laid plans can easily come unstuck in war. And so I think the 1 to 6-sided dice has a little bit more of my respect now that I've played this game than it would have otherwise.
That's just because I rolled terrible numbers. Admit it.
Yes, there was some terrible rolling by the Allies in this. General Wavell got sacked and replaced by Auchinleck because he couldn't roll a dice. Okay, so we played a vintage game today, and this was the rule book that we learned from until we came across some things that we didn't understand. So there was a version 2 of the rulebook, which I believe is 1978 printing or something that you could get online somewhere. I don't know where. And then later in the game, we ran into a problem with the pubic hair, ridges, and there was some complaints by a certain Allied unit as to what the Germans were doing, so we had some clarification. And someone on Board Game Geek helped us go to the Compass Games webpage where we downloaded the rules for Compass Games' beautified version, although I understand the board is not mounted. Cardboard people. And some of the counters were printed incorrectly or something, but evidently Compass Games fixed that up for you. So before we wrap, or with the beginning of the wrap, I think it would be nice to just say, what's your favourite game? Oregon. So how does this compare to Oregon as a gaming experience?
It's very different.
Yes. Specifically length, for starters.
That doesn't make it bad.
No, we played, I think we played for roughly 6 hours if you delete time for eating, looking at rules, arguing about stuff, reading rules, and sorting out counters. So much sorting out of counters. When I read the rules, I was like, it's going to be difficult, keeping track of what counters are where, and I noticed there was a slip of paper in my copy that said, sort the counters out before you start, otherwise you'll be forever looking at counters. It was right. We sorted out the counters. Actually, Kim sorted out the counters. It was like it's like doing a jigsaw.
It was.
The other thing about the game I thought was interesting is I actually got the feeling of what happened in North Africa to some degree. Actually, I can understand the challenges and difficulties the commanders of those sides had. And having watched Tick's various videos about those battles in North Africa, actually made the playing experience more interesting. I don't think I would have convinced this person to play this game with me if she had not got engaged and invested because of the videos. Is it worth watching Tick's videos?
Definitely.
Yeah, they're long, and they're not.
Get 9 hours to spare.
So for me, this is like the first time I've actually finished one of these strategic level hex encounter games, hex encounter games, yes. And I've played things like Tobruk, and at one point in my 20s, I played a bit of Squad Leader actually, before it got complicated and expensive with folders of rules. But really, my experience here is actually fairly limited. Total greenie, like as cabbage as green can be. So it was really interesting, like introducing someone with this little experience to something that's quite new and out of the ordinary or their normal comfort zone, which is clearly Eurogames Oregon. Eurogames. So would you recommend like having a crack at this and like if you were thinking about it, because it's not for everybody, is it?
No.
No.
You need time to invest in reading the rules and playing the game.
For us, it was Friday afternoon after work, and then till about 1 o'clock on Saturday, and we started early. So. And
you need the right people to play it with.
Yeah, like
you because it's too clear.
That's right. I don't know how people play these things solitaire. I really enjoy the interaction with other players, but a lot of these games, because of what they are solitaire. So, if you were going to play it again, how long would you do? Would you try it again, or because I mean, you need revenge clearly.
Of course, I'd play it again. Probably, I'd want to play it soonish, within the next 3 months or so. One, I want to wank it to the end.
Yeah.
December 1942. Didn't get there.
No, didn't get into 1942.
And also interesting to play from the other side, because I was the Allies.
And how much was the way you played affected by a certain investment in someone called Jock Campbell?
Jock Campbell.
For those that don't know, watch Tick's documentary. There's a British brigadier, I think, a British officer who is part of this campaign, in the Crusader campaign, who, seriously, his exploits have to be seen to be believed. He has a fan right here. And that's sort of
crazy.
And every time the unit that we knew contained Jock Campbell, which is the 7th Armoured Brigade, was doing something, she was like,
I was right into it. Because I had to abandon the strategy early on because it didn't go to plan, so back up. Jock Campbell. It's supposed to be for the win, but it didn't happen.
She hung about to dry in the end.
I didn't want to.
So cut. So hopefully this helps you if you've been curious about these old hex encounter war games that take forever. One last thing. Do you reckon the rules in this were hard to learn?
No, we had to check some things. But
yeah, I think that goes with the territory. Like, you do find yourself referencing the rules. Avalon Hill rules are terrible. Like, these rules here, terrible. If you've got an old copy of this, these rules by Compass Games are better. They've got some really good examples in them. It's longer because of that. This is only like a few pages. But yeah, they certainly saved our some arguments, really, basically arguments. And I will put a thank you in the comments below to the person who put us onto this as well on Board Game Geek. Well, there you go. There's a Eurogamer playing a hex encounter war game. Kim has said she would do this again, and I've encouraged it, but I've only had a fairly cool response of late. But maybe, if a few people comment in below, is in below a thing, maybe we'll get another one out. Like, I have a pretty good collection of them, some of which I'm not super keen to play. Interested, but not super keen. But there's a couple that I have enormously fond memories of from like my late teens and early 20s. So if you're curious about that, maybe drop a comment below. Also, it's probably time I gave another t-shirt away. If you do comment and you'd like a t-shirt, be aware that I don't have all sizes and colours anymore. Let me know, and I'll draw a winner out of a hat once I've got like 5 comments. Let's call it 6, because that's how many sides there are on a dice. Anyway, thanks for watching, and you'll see me on the next Party Meeple video.